Living Color from the KFNX studio, or the Arizona Professional Locksmith Association studio, where Andrew and I are here in the studio. We're not having a clue in the world what we're going to talk about. Andrew was talking about some licensing issues and
Well, I think more than anything, I want open phone lines for licensing issue. I like other locksmiths to call in, and let's chat about it.
and open phone lines for customers to call in with lock and key problems. And those numbers are 602-277-5369, 602-277-KFNX. If you have any questions at all about your locks or keys or safes, we'll be absolutely delighted to help you with them. I had a call just last week from a customer that kept putting the combination into the safe, and the safe kept saying, "No, I'm not going to open." And I said, "Well, did you try changing the batteries?" He says, "Well, the information I have here says that there's supposed to be a place to put a key that I can't find." He couldn't find the key or the place to put it. And so the biggest problem he had, and I'll tell you, this guy's right on top of things. He has it on his schedule every year, change the batteries once a year. I told him, dude, might want to change that to 6 months. And once I found the keyhole, got the thing picked open, and we slapped some new batteries in it, of course, it worked perfect.
Duracell Energizer only.
Yes, copper tops or Energizer Bunny.
Yep. No, we had a couple of fire boxes. I won't call them saves.
Right.
But we had a couple fire boxes come in to me over the week. We had one actually show up at Jim's shop. Key wouldn't work. Combination wouldn't work. Opened it up. I don't know, 20 minutes.
Pry bar?
No. Little love tap.
Ah.
And then the next day, the same exact model, the same exact safe, the same exact problem. 2 days in a row, back to back.
Different boxes and different customers.
Different customers.
Okay.
Within about a mile of each other, though. Same firebox.
Yeah, well, this was the, as I researched it, $65 Harbor Freight special.
Oh, this one? No, this wasn't quite. This is the $110 Sentry Safe special.
Yeah, this one was Bunker Hill or something.
You know, you can open those Bunker Hills with a potato.
I think you've said something about that.
Yeah. At least that.
Is this a fried potato or a baked potato?
Actually, raw potato. Straight out of the ground.
Well, you may as well tell us about it. I mean, I know we don't usually do bypass methods, but...
Well, this is one of those safes that you can give it a little tap, tap, tap right on the top of, I guess, where the electronic dial meets the safe. And it is gravity helping you by...
where the rubber hits the road.
Yes, exactly. But you can hit it with a potato hard enough, and it will... And you don't dent the potato that bad. It's a YouTube video out there. Open a safe with a potato. I just stumbled upon it one day when I was goofing around on YouTube.
And apparently there's some models of Sentry, I think it is, that you are supposedly, if you can find the magnet that's strong enough, a rare earth magnet, that you can
Pull the bolts.
put that by the door and open it. And Ilko, Kaba Ilko, one of the major manufacturers in this country, had a big problem. There's a lock out there, purely mechanical, 5 buttons up and down over the knob or the lever. And if you had the right kind of magnet, you could go up beside the combination chamber on those and just turn the lever or knob and open the thing up. Supposedly, they've done something to correct that. Maybe put in non-ferrous parts in the combination chamber or something so you cannot be attracted by a magnet. But I'll tell you, if you guys really want to make some money, there's a really easy way to make a great deal of money. All you have to do is invent the magnet that picks up brass.
Yes. Why is it that brass is not magnetized?
Because it's non-ferrous. It's having no iron in it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that makes sense now.
But, I mean, if the Earth can keep attracting the moon and the sun can keep attracting the Earth, there's got to be something out there that can attract brass. We just have insufficient intelligence to figure out how to discover it.
Well, let's stop blowing up countries and make brass magnets.
There you go.
put the money toward that.
Absolutely. So I've decided I'm going to go a little crazy and start putting PayPal buttons all over my transponder pages and just start selling stuff over the internet and do a key cut by code service. So I spent a lot of yesterday doing that. I'll probably spend the next month doing that. Plus, of course, I get involved in some of these other projects.
Projects. So let's talk a little bit about some licensing. Let's talk about the pros and cons of it, or what could be pros and cons of it.
Well, I am for and against licensing. And I know that sounds like a psychotic perspective, and truly I am. But as I see it, licensing can be done very well. And I really kind of like the license laws in the state of California. There's a few changes I'd like to see them make, like the section that says basically anybody can go to court and get an injunction if they know somebody is about to do an illegal act. I'd like to see that reworded to where if it's not a state's attorney or something doing this, if it's just a private person, that the private person doing the state's job for them would not have to pay filing fees, and that the sheriff, marshal, or constable would go out and serve those papers for free. But other than that, a couple other minor tweaks. I really like the model of the California law. Having said that, when I did a public records inquiry of 58 different counties in California, I've discovered that there have been precisely 0 prosecutions under the California Locksmith License Act because the BS Department, Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, has not been bothered to give one referral to any county district attorney for any prosecution under that law. And the latest letter that I've gotten is telling me, among other things, they're not willing at all to do any interviews. But the latest letter I have says we have, I think they said, 8 different industries that we regulate. And those include security guards and all their batons and guns, private investigators, tow truck companies, repo companies. They have to regulate all these different industries, and they have precisely 8 investigators to do all the background checks and all the investigations. And so one of my little tweaks to California law would be to make a separate Bureau of Locksmith Licensing under the Department of Consumer Affairs, and that it be staffed with cops and not bureaucrats. Because one of the big cons of licensing is that without any reasonable or any kind of enforcement, you can write all the laws in the world. There's a law against homicide. If they don't enforce the homicide laws, people are going to run around killing one another willy-nilly, and it's just up to God to take care of it later.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the biggest problem with licensing. They just charge their money and get their cut every year, but then they don't do anything to fix the issue at hand. Or are these guys not breaking the law in plain black and white? And up and all of these things that are on all of their websites lead it to have that asterisk at the bottom. Your steak isn't going to be cooked all the way. Be careful. Your car may have high security locks on it. Be careful. And the average person has no idea about that. Can you tell them that? I don't know what they're doing that they can actually break the law. Now, if somebody's sitting there and they say it's a guaranteed going to be $80 to open your car, and then they show up and try to charge you $500, well, there's some bait and switch if they already guaranteed you that. But how do you prove any of that in court? How do you prove any of that in any way, shape, or form to anybody other than it's hearsay at that point in court, in my opinion?
Well, if we put the pricing issue aside for just 1 minute, I think there's the other issue of what are the industry standards when it comes to how something is actually going to be done. And we're coming right up on a break here, so I'm going to elaborate on what I mean by that in a minute. But, if we just start with what are proper opening methods for various kind of locks, and what if people use methods that are not what we would call the industry standard methods for the locks that we're talking about.
Yes.
And so we're going to be back in just a minute. The call-in number is 602-277-KFNX. Call us up. Welcome back to the Locksmith Show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. We're in the studio with Andrew the Techie and Andrew from Andrew's Lock and Key talking about licensing. And let me take it just to the opening methods. If you walk up to a house or even, God forbid, a business that has a Quickset 400 T3 or a Quickset Pin Tumbler 660 deadbolt on it, what is the industry standard method of opening these locks?
Well, I would hope you'd be able to pick them.
Precisely. And when you have these folks that are trained to walk up and look at something, whatever it might be, and say, oh, you have a very special high security lock here. I can't pick it. I'm going to have to drill it. And they immediately go to destruction of the customer's property without even attempting to pick it open. I consider that an act of criminal damage, or otherwise known as vandalism, because they're being told by their customer, go out and destroy the customer's locks so that we can sell them something that may be inferior, may be superior, but 6 or 8 times the price that you would buy it at the big box place.
Well, yeah. That goes into the... Okay, we can talk about that. We can, there's a guy who has I'm not going to say the shop in town. I'm not going to take my car back there. But we can go back into that. I drive a IS250, a Lexus IS250, and I had my rear struts replaced. Guy had great reviews, done awesome job on working on my car. I found the same parts from the same company he ordered them from. I could have bought them for myself at $94 each. He sold them to me for $444 a piece. Me and him went rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds about the service industry and taking care of people's stuff and price markup for parts. And he wouldn't budge on his price at all. And in my opinion, the way these guys charge for their lock prices is absolutely ridiculous. But if they go in there and they're drilling the lock, I know a few guys that have had to drill locks. That's how they open places, because they haven't quite figured out how to open locks yet. And they're still, quote unquote, locksmiths.
There was one time I went out on a house and they had the new Schlage F-Lock compressible cylinders on all the doors around the house. And it was just a simple lockout. And I went around and I lubricated every lock. I tried to pick every one of them. And after 30 or 45 minutes, I couldn't get that thing open. And I drilled it. I found a used cylinder in my kit I threw in there. And when I left, everything was all good. And it was maybe an extra $30 for the guy.
Exactly.
But when you walk up to a lock that by definition or experience is something that can be picked sometimes within a matter of 3 or 4 seconds, and say, oh, you have a very special high security lock here. We can't pick it. We're going to have to drill it. I see that as being a problem. And I don't think it's merely just an educational problem. I think it's a problem where those people have very specifically been trained to engage in criminal damage to maximize income rather than take care of a customer in a manner consistent with how a customer should be taken care of.
I don't disagree. But after my little, a couple weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago now, in our little run-in with a gentleman who was working with them, we ran into him at a gas station. There's a YouTube video about it. I think the guy knows what he's doing, but I don't think he knows what he's doing on the same hand.
Well,
and I just think he's told by people. I think some of them, I know a few guys that there's one guy who's quote unquote friend who quit working for them a while ago. But we started talking after he quit working for him. In the very beginning, he thought that that's what I did. When he found out that I was a locksmith still and doing that, he was asking me if I was making as much money as those guys are making. And I said, no, because I can't do that to somebody. I can't walk up to somebody's house and tell them it's going to cost them $300 to open their door.
And that's precisely why in California they have under the Department of Consumer Affairs, they have a Bureau of Automotive Repair. And in California, the law is that they have to get you to sign a written estimate and give you a copy of that before they actually start doing the work. I'm thinking it might not be a bad thing to do that here, because if you were seeing $1,600 for parts for struts and you went on eBay and found them for $50 a piece, you would be, I think I'm going to drive my car to a different shop now. Or maybe I'll take it home and do it myself.
Yes and no. Or, he didn't tell me the price.
Well, and that would be a problem.
So, there wasn't anything agreed upon until basically I handed in my credit card.
And I have said on occasion that my favorite customers are the ones that don't ask how much. Well, and that's not because I want to take advantage of them. That's because they know what they want. They tell me what they want. I go and do it and give it a fair price, and they trust me.
Well, and that's what I thought I was with this guy. I've taken my car there more than once. Not for struts aren't major repairs, but, that's a major bill. I took it into the Lexus dealership in Scottsdale and had it overhauled right before I took it into him, minus them doing the back struts. I'd had the car and probably put 10,000 miles on it since I had it. But when I first bought it, I dropped it off at the Lexus dealership, and the entire bill for the 50 or what was it, 80,000 checkup was like $1,200. My bill for the rear struts were almost $1,100.
Is that Lexus? Is that one of the ones where they've placed the starter under the intake manifold instead of external to the engine?
I'm not exactly sure. We'll find out if that goes out, won't we? But, it's a great car. I love the car. Drove it clear across the United States and back. Great car. Struts work great, too. But, at the end of the day, sometimes you lose some and sometimes you win some. And I feel that's the same thing with a customer. If they don't do their research, I got duped. The guy's never getting my business again. But,
then there is always the you get what you pay for thing. And, if you're paying for the plutonium charged gold-plated struts, then, nobody's ever going to see them. But,
if I was paying for those, that would be great, because I would have the emblem on the side of the car then at least.
Oh, there you go.
Because then somebody could see the branding.
So, Andrew, you've been remarkably quiet.
Yeah, I don't really have much to share this week. We've found a couple articles that we've followed up with that we've kind of been keeping track on. South Carolina still looking at their whole legislature issue on continuing with their licensing or not after the whole Sexual Predator Act that happened.
Well, I'm confused. Isn't it North Carolina that has licensing and they're talking about having it go away, and then South Carolina is maybe talking about making a new licensing
Exactly,
scheme?
yeah.
Okay.
And they just missed the deadline of actually implementing anything in the next term. So they'll have to wait until 2017, basically. But everybody's kind of saying that it gives them more time to work out the details and things like that. But, yeah, other than that, it's pretty quiet in the news world. A locksmith was called out to Prince's house to drill 5 locks to get into his safe.
What kind of safe did he have?
Doesn't say, actually. There's a pretty big gag order on it as well as what was inside of it.
Well,
So-
what's inside of it has been told that they're going to release, or not release, but it's a bunch of unreleased master recordings.
Yeah, I heard he had, and I think the Beatles do too. Have a bunch of unreleased stuff that
Wow.
will go well into a long time from now.
Well, and I think Mr. Michael Jackson's estate still owns the Beatles.
Hey, let me ask you this: have you guys heard anything about DesertTrip.com?
Yes.
What are you thinking?
It's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a real fun show. It will be, if I go see the Roger Waters that night, I will have actually seen all of Pink Floyd at that point. I saw Pink Floyd in '94 for the Division Bell with David Gilmour, which is amazing.
Well, I'm not here to advertise it for them or anything because they're certainly not paying me or you. But I think it looks like, even being a bit pricey, that it'll be a hell of a fun time. And I'm thinking about trying to go for 3 days.
That's cheaper than Coachella. By far.
By far.
By far.
Coachella, isn't that where they buried
That's
the bus
pretty
full of
much where
children?
that's pretty much where this is happening at again. This is happening in India, where they do Coachella, basically.
Okay, yeah, I don't know
So-
anything about that one.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And the call-in number is 602-277-5369, and we'll be back after these very important news-related articles and the local weather. And I don't know if they're throwing traffic in or not, but we'll figure it out. Welcome back to the Locksmith Show, where we're going wild and crazy and talking about all manner of silliness, including licensing. So, North Carolina is talking about eliminating a whole bunch of occupational licensing boards, including the Locksmith Board. How much do you know about that one?
I've done a little bit of research onto that one. I know that basically they were saying that it was that, along with some rather strange occupations, that they were taking the licensings away from. I don't really know how they moved forward on that one. Let me see if I can find anything here.
Well, I was about to say, what kind of strange occupations do they have there? They have
Well-
like moonwalking.
Well, no,
and,
they had like massage
jumping.
therapist license that they were dissolving that board. You know, ones that kind of made sense to not really have a professional license for. They had those ones being dissolved, but for some reason, Locksmith got thrown into that pool as well. Let's see here.
And I can almost see a reason for having a massage license. I know my former roommate Ruthie has one, and she actually had to go to school and get fingerprinted and all of that to get her license.
Right.
And I had to run down Department of Revenue and give them $35 for mine.
I think some of the licensing with the massage thing boils down to you're actually touching people. And they wanna
Naked
make
people.
Naked people and or underneath.
And
You want to make sure you're not a sexual predator, I think, more than anything.
And there's one guy that I know that was actually charged with something along those lines. And I think there was some kind of settlement involved. And
Oh, goodness.
this might be the one time that I just fail to name names because it's not necessarily relevant.
Yeah.
On the
again-
other hand, if we were talking about that criminal Ami Hanan and his desperate need to get indicted by the Arizona Attorney General, I'll say his name over and over, that 24/7 creep.
Yeah. Well, and that was the same company that was involved in my little scandal that
Hey,
the YouTube videos about.
I was coming out from the bank the other day and I saw a guy wearing a very bright orange shirt.
Mhm.
And it happened to say on the front of it, "Call Orange."
Of course.
And I asked this guy, I says, "Dude, why are you hooked up with this bunch of criminals?" He says, "Oh, I'm not. It's my mate's shirt, and I'm in a construction business, and we had to have orange shirts, and so I just grabbed this one, and I'm out there doing my construction thing." And so he's going to talk to the person involved and see if he or she could give me a call so we can learn about all the inner workings of that creepy company that was involved in the click to call here green bar scandal that you brought up just before the end of the year.
Right.
Yeah, and I have an informant.
Only one.
Just one.
Well, when do we get to interview these informants? One of them.
I think once me and this gentleman can sit down a little bit more and chat, we'll be able to bring him in, or we'll bring him into my studio and do an interview with him and cut it up later. But I'm hoping in the next few weeks. I'm going to have a meeting with him next week. I've been meeting with him. He's been showing up at one of my friend's shops and is trying to get out of this side of the industry and getting into the legitimate side, and is willing to talk.
And that's always kind of an iffy proposition for everybody involved. I mean, somebody's running around doing that kind of stuff. How can you eventually end up trusting them?
Exactly. Well, that, and I've been told by other people, not him necessarily, but some other people, that my little video has stirred up some people on that side, and they want to come after me.
Some hornet's nests.
And what they want to do is they want to come after me and undercut my price.
So they're going to do that.
That is a laughable matter.
It's a very laughable matter, because if they're going to show up at a customer's place and charge less than $65, I'm going to shake the customer's hand and say, you got a better deal than I got you. So you have a good day. And I'm just going to leave. So if you guys are listening to our show, please don't come hassle my customers. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. But I'm just going to walk away and let you take that. And my customer will probably laugh at you, because all of my customers do their research on me. Little old lady called me last week. She went through 10 locksmiths till she found the one that she wanted. And the first words that came out of her mouth when we walked up to her door was, "You look identical to your picture on the website."
Say it's not so.
So she felt more comfortable than anything, because she'd seen the ABC specials. She'd seen all of those things. And she was like, I don't even know who to call. And where to even begin. She got my number from a friend, from a friend, from a friend.
And that's how we're going to have to do this consumer education thing.
Yes.
Because I don't even know that we're getting all that far with consumer education, spending all the money we are on doing this show, because
I agree and disagree on the same token, because we've had some calls from it. Is it revenue building? Is it enough to do that? No. But the ultimate goal, in my opinion, and what I joined the show, was to continue to bring it to the consumer. You know, whether they're listening to us live on Sunday
or podcasts later
or
on.
our podcast later on, which definitely a lot of people have listened to our podcasts. The YouTube channel's growing considerably over the last few weeks. Big portion of that is due to the last couple of videos I've done,
Right.
doing the scam thing and vetting those people a little bit. But it needs to, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, but I think we're helping certain people. We've had a few phone calls that have called in. We had that lady, and I did another gentleman who heard me, I think, when you were out of town.
Well, the only reason I say that like that is because when I'm walking around with a pocket full of cards trying to encourage people to listen and say, what are you doing 11 a.m. on Sunday? A lot of people are telling me, church.
Yeah.
So that's a very large segment of the population that we're missing out on. And I'm not sure, unless we start going to church and asking the pastors or the priests for, 5-minute segment at the podium there, I don't know how we're going to reach all those people.
No. And I don't go to church that often unless they actually pay me to go. So, and they do. And I hate to say it that way. But during my other business that I run,
Right.
I get paid to go run sound at churches. So, and they pay me very handsomely. So.
Well, Lord knows, especially the Catholics can afford it.
Actually, I did I ran some sound at, ironically enough, Prince's sound guy lives here in town, his church that he runs on the weekends. I filled in for him about 4 or 5 years ago. So it was a lot of fun. Different people run the church now, so it's a whole different church. But
So what are we thinking about the whole Prince thing? I'm hearing drugs.
I think it's another tragic accident of prescription drugs, and that touches very home to me. One of my significant others a few years ago died because of prescription drugs, and you want to talk about a problem in the United States? There's not a drug problem. There's a prescription drug problem in the United States.
Well, we can have that argument for a month, because I'm going to say we have a freedom problem in the United States, and if we want narcotics or antibiotics or whatever, if we have the money, we should be able to walk into a pharmacy and get specifically labeled pharmaceuticals of whatever.
Well, you're
just
gonna have
because
the
we're going to pay
same
for it.
Misdiagnosis that we have going on with, I read an article last week that 30% of the people out there that go into a doctor get prescribed antibiotics
For viruses.
that they don't have. And in my opinion, antibiotics are great if you need them. If you don't need them, then,
For the diseases that
Yes.
they're effective for.
and then if you don't need them and they're giving them to you, you're going to build up an immunity to that.
No, you're going to help the bacteria build up immunities to it. So
Yes.
the next time the bacteria decide to start up, then they're going to really get you.
So I think when the 30-somethings now are into the 50s and 60s and they're pumping themselves full of all these antibiotics, they're going to get a lot more sick in the future. And I don't take antibiotics. I haven't taken any. The only last antibiotic I had is when I had my wisdom teeth pulled, and that was 10 years ago.
And speaking
So-
of antibiotics, it came to my attention over the last 24 hours, I guess. Our very, very good friend Mike Bronzell
Oh, yes.
is in a hospital in New York, and he's apparently having some major infection issues. When I called him yesterday afternoon, 3 or 4 in the afternoon, he knew who I was, but he was borderline incoherent. He was coherent enough to tell me what hospital and what town, and so I alerted Rob Painter, and Rob called him up later in the evening around 9 or 10 our time and texted me back that he's doing remarkably better than he was when I was talking to him. So
Well, that's good. Our wishes go out to Mr. Brunzell and his family.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll be back in very short order with our final segment. Give us a call.
Day. It's Mother's Day, guys.
Welcome back to the Locksmith Show, where Andrew is running about in the parking lot for something, and the other Andrew, dubbed Andrew 2, is here with us.
Andrew too.
May as well plug your business again while we're at it, unless, are you just exclusively with Andrew now?
Well, I'm contracted out at the time being. When I do get some free time as the association starts picking up more automatically, I guess I should say, I'll be able to pull away and focus on some other things. But for the time being, I am fully contracted with Andrew. I do run Arizona Tech Geeks. aztechgeeks.com is the website on that. We've been in business for about 7 years now. So anything web development, web design, search engine optimization, web hosting, cloud computing, those kind of things.
And how do you compute a cloud?
Just a lot of configurations up for, a server warehouse, things like that. You're just configuring the lines for each service to talk to each product and things like that.
So you can make it rain.
There you go.
And not money, I mean.
And hail.
And hail.
And maybe snow.
And maybe snow. Maybe that's why all that flooding happened in Houston.
Oh, God.
Poor
Those
guys in
poor
Houston.
folks.
Hey, if you're a locksmith out there, you're going to make some money.
If you're a tow truck driver out there, you're going to make some money. Or a repo guy.
Yeah.
Except the banks are going to take it and the insurance companies are going to take it. Speaking of which, Rob Painter and I talked extensively last night, and we're going to see about maybe putting something together for public consumption, maybe in the form of a series of some kind, because the way insurance companies are treating people is just getting really out of hand. Yes, our car's been stolen. Oh, well, your car's not been recovered, so we're going to deny your claim. Oh, and by the way, the only way it could have possibly been taken is with the key, and we know that because we can't find the car, so we can't examine the car. But the forensic locksmith says the only way it could be taken with a key. Forensic locksmith, I guess, might have forgotten about tow trucks.
Tow trucks. Oh, come on. You haven't seen Gone in 60 Seconds? No. I think there was one of those things that happened here, very similar to that once, at a dealership.
Do tell.
They broke into the dealership and stole the keys for the car.
And thus had keys to steal the cars.
Exactly.
Well, then the cars got stolen with keys. But the big problem is when they're starting to go after people, trying to charge them criminally with some insurance fraud conspiracy after not paying them what they've paid to insure with, I mean, if they haven't recovered the car, or if the car has been burned to a crisp and you can't interrogate the computer about what key used it last, or if it happens to be the Mercedes that the key that was actually being used had a different VIN number in it. Mm-hmm. How can you then go charge your customer criminally because they woke up one morning and, gee,
where's my
guess
car?
We're not going to get to work today because the car's not home.
Yeah.
It's just asinine is a good word for it.
That's insurance agencies. They try to, collect profit. They're not about to pay out. That's not what they like to do. They'd rather just keep taking your money, and, whether or not, how can they prove that you had insurance fraud? Why are they coming back at you when they have nothing against you? You made a claim. Your car's missing.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to prove where it is or where it's not or how they stole it when, I have no idea. I wasn't there watching them. So
I have a trailer that's missing. It used to be parked behind my shop at 24th Street and Indian School. I bought it in South Dakota from a guy that chops up pickup trucks and makes them into trailers. And I put trash in it, put a chain link fence segment over the top of it so stuff wouldn't go flying out when I went driving down the road. And one day I went to the shop and my trailer's gone. I have no idea where it is. And
probably never find it.
Few $100s I had invested in it. It wasn't worth insuring. So, well.
That happens.
My guess, probably in Mexico.
Yeah, probably. We're so close.
Yeah, probably took a ride on the wild side.
Or maybe they used the bed of the truck to fix their other bed of the truck.
No, that would be funny.
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because one day when I got to the shop, or maybe it was in the middle of the night before, but the long and the short of the story is somebody started the thing on fire one night.
Oh.
And I had to go buy new tail lights for it. And it was all, discolored and somewhat disfigured, although I did make the lights work.
One of my neighbors had his trailer stolen the other day from our studio. And they wanted me to watch 72 hours of film on my cameras.
Did you tell them they're cordially invited to come in and do it themselves?
I told them that I didn't have that time. And I wasn't going to let them sit in my office for 72 hours. Nor was I going to give them my tape. So.
Oh, poor pitiful them.
Well, I had offered over in that neighborhood to put cameras up several times. And the cameras aren't pointing toward that way anyway. They think they are, but they're not. So, somebody wants...
doing a little deceptive phony camera stuff, maybe?
No, there's no phony cameras. They're all live. But
they're just not pointing where the other people think they are.
Exactly. So.
I'm thinking I should put some cameras up at my place. A couple outside to watch the comings and goings, and a couple inside for just in case.
No, I think they're there. Now, do they help? I don't know. I've had a guy break into my office before. And
Did you summarily execute him?
No.
Oh.
Actually, I got yelled at by Mesa Police Department. So,
Why?
because the guy had left his bass guitar inside our studio for months and months and months. And it would always show up there when nobody was there to get it. So he decided that he would throw a rock through my front door and proceeded to go inside and had about 30 seconds before the alarm goes off and realized that it's not in the hallway. It's behind a bunch of other locked doors. Oh no, what am I going to do? So I get there. I show them. I tell them who it is. They don't do anything because he's not in Mesa. He's in Phoenix. So he proceeded to come back 2 months later again and called the cops on me and said I stole his bass guitar. And he brought it in here and left it here and has never made a phone call to get it back. Here's the video of him breaking into my building. And what the cop told me was that it's not breaking and entering. It's criminal damage because he had belongings inside the building. And I said,
Okay, charge him with criminal damage.
They did. And you know who made the money?
The glass company.
The city. I got nothing.
Well, then there's a problem that you should have followed up on maybe with the city attorney because they can make that restitution.
I did. And they told me that there was nothing that they were going to do. I went to the court hearings 3 times. And then when it came down to it, they never sent me a letter of actually when the court date was going to be. They kept pushing it out. I called, oh, yeah, we're done. And I said, well, what about, my $832 to repair my front door? Oh, well, we got our $1,600, so you're fine. They got $1,600 out of this guy. And I got 0. Me and the city of Mesa aren't friends. And
Isn't your place in Tempe?
No, it's in Mesa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you move to Tempe?
And then the Mesa, last week, the Mesa Police Department called me and asked me to donate money to them.
Did you tell them to go take a fly-in
I said once they start doing their job over in my neighborhood, and they almost tried to run over my daughter. I'm not saying all cops are bad. I'm just saying I have a sour taste in my mouth with the city of Mesa and their police department and what they did in my neighborhood for what I've done. And I've been there for 8 years now. Paid my taxes on time, guys. Come on. This guy's not even in your city, and you made a bunch of money off of him, and you never gave me any money for it or got me any money for it. So,
yeah, I mean, restitution should be part of the package when you have crime victims.
There was just a lot of balls dropped there, and nobody did anything. So I saw one detective the whole time, and that was it. And then I went down to 3 preliminary hearings, and they kept extending it. And they said that he pushed it for when I went. I went in, they didn't even tell me that he wasn't there. And they said, we'll get back to you when we have it scheduled again.
So, crime victims, the moral of today's story is, rather than trying to keep on track of all the court hearings and stuff, write a letter to the judge for inclusion into the file, asking for restitution, whether the state's attorney wants to ask for it or not. The judge can do it on his own. Mm-hmm. And if there's a letter in the file, that might be more likely that you'd get restitution than if you try to let the worker bees, the overworked prosecutorial worker bees.
I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, especially my mom and my kids' mom.
And all the other moms.
All the other moms. So thank you, Miss Debbie, for giving me birth. As Mr. Mysterious Locksmith posted on my Facebook, she didn't know what she brought into this world.
Imagine that. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring this week's edition of the Locksmith Show to a close, and we'll bring it again next week, everything permitting.
We will see you soon. See you soon, Mom.
Hey guys, if you like my YouTube channel, please subscribe below. It's over here. I don't know. It's somewhere, anywhere. It's wherever they like to put it. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. Share my videos. If you have any questions, email me, andrewslockandkeyaz@gmail.com, or don't hesitate to pick up the phone. I answer my phone all the time. 480-437-4022. Thank you, and have a great day.